One. Hey, for a while now, I've really felt like God was wanting a little more out of me. Over the years, I've served in different ways, and each time I've seen the blessing in what I was doing. Not necessarily how I was blessing others, but how the process of serving was blessing my life. For example, there's nothing that can compare to having a role in children's ministry. Teaching and preaching the little ones was so much fun and so important. And today, I really enjoy seeing a lot of the kids that I was teaching in children's ministry serving as adults and as parents and as teachers. Then, helping in the men's ministry was a bit of a different role, but I really enjoyed being part of serving and I gained so much from it. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." Over the years, while I was serving, I received so much support and encouragement through men's ministry that I'm not sure I would have the faith that I have today without those experiences. But the one ministry that impacted my life and blessed me beyond words is the years that I spent preaching and teaching at the food pantry sponsored by Mount Pleasant Christian Church. On and off for nearly 15 years, I had the honor of delivering messages to the people that came to Living Bread, which eventually became the Impact Center. Because of the current situation in our country with COVID right now, we're not meeting the way that we used to, and there hasn't been the opportunity to share the good news the way we had been for years. Over the years, I've developed a passion for preaching and teaching, and I had to accept the fact that God can use anyone to deliver the message He wants. As faithful believers, we are simply a conduit, and if we open ourselves to Him, we can use His word in so many different ways. 2 Timothy 3:16 says, "All Scripture is inspired by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness." So this brings me to today and why I'm sharing this message. The personal push that I feel God is calling me to do is very simple in word. Get back to the basics. Now, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. When have you heard the words "get back to basics"? Typically, not when everything was going great. If a team coach says, "All right, guys, it's time to get back to basics," that usually means the team is struggling and they've gotten away from the fundamentals or the essentials of what got them to a better time. If you're at work and your boss says, "Hey, I need to talk to you. I think it's time you got back to basics," that's usually not the start of a great meeting. I actually like the way the Urban Dictionary describes get back to basics. First, they say it's a return to previously held values of decency. Secondly, they say if you talk about getting back to basics, you're suggesting that people have become too concerned with complicated details or new theories, and that they should concentrate on simple, important ideas or activities. For me personally, the time has come to get back to basics. I feel like I've overcomplicated my world and I need to slow down, rethink where I am and what I'm doing, and I need to adjust. So I asked myself, what's the next step? I think there's three things that can be critically important to getting back to basics. First, you have to take a really close look at where you are and what you're doing. I asked myself if the things I was doing are helpful to my own life or to other people's lives. 1 Peter 4:10 says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." Is what I do in my life daily benefiting me or anyone else? Is my iron sharpening someone else's iron? What kind of example am I being to my kids, my grandkids, my coworkers, my friends? I have often said, does the Sunday morning person match the Sunday afternoon through Saturday night person? Recognizing that the basics of our lives may be out of alignment with the basics of what God's calling us to be can be a huge first step to getting back on the right track. Second, you have to create a really short list of what the best basics are for your life, and do they line up with what God would ask you to do? Right now, I feel like I'm all over the place, and getting back to basics is a huge priority. But what does that mean? Well, for me, it means treating myself better, particularly in how I care for myself. Am I eating right? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I living my life in the way that is acceptable to God? 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, "So then, whether you eat or drink or whatever you may do, do it all for the honor and glory of God." It seems so simple, but yet why is it so difficult? Finally, pray about the changes. You could have guessed that pray was going to be the final step, but there's a reason for that. The Bible talks about prayer hundreds of times, and people have several different thoughts on a proper way to pray. For me personally, my best times of prayer are when I'm just talking to God. I thank Him for my blessings and my challenges. I share with Him my personal petitions, and I try my best to listen to His reply. John 8:47 in the New King James Version said, "He who is of God hears God's words. Therefore, you do not hear because you are not of God." Wow, that's pretty sobering, but I believe it tells us if we are of God, we need to take the time to listen to God. So if you're at a place where things may be a little out of sorts, take the time to analyze where you're at. Make a plan for the changes you want to make, and then pray to God to help you. And if you listen closely, God will share with you how to get back to the basics of your own life.